Gastelum showed up during the event wearing a belt around his shoulder. And I knew right away that was more than likely that was Henry Cejudo's belt. He's the only guy that has earned that belt so far. And he was, from watching Unguarded, he was hanging around Cejudo a lot during the week leading up into the fight. So I think this is something that, maybe Kelvin thought would have been kind of funny. Maybe to draw some headlines, draw some attention to him. Maybe it was Cejudo's idea. I don't know whose idea it was. But at the end of the day, I think what it did is it hurt Kelvin Gastelum in the eyes of the viewers. Don't forget that Kelvin was the victim in this. You know what I mean? He's the guy that trained so hard. He's the one whose opponent pulled out the day before the fight, after the weigh-ins the night before. When you're laying in bed, all the hard work is done. Not only did you get through training camp, you made weight. That's the fight before the fight. Everything is done. All you do the night before you fight is you lay in bed, you relax, you fuel up, you drink whatever you want, you eat food. It's fun, it's nice. You have to go to sleep before the biggest day of your life, when you have to compete the next day. Sometime around then, he found out the horrible news that Robert Whittaker was injured. The fight would be canceled. Devastating, sad news. You saw Kelvin alluded to it in one of his interviews, saying that he's worked so hard for this his entire life. This is a moment that he's been building for him for a very, very long time. He got his butt kicked in training time after time. And he started to get a little bit emotional. He was the victim in this. This was a guy that we felt bad for. And I think the fans were kind of looking at, feeling a bit of sympathy, or you could be somewhat empathetic if you're a fighter, knowing what he had just went through. But then going and taking the belt and kind of putting a new twist on it, saying, you know what, in my world where I come from, if you don't make weight, you forfeit the fight. I get what he was saying. And I get what he was doing. But what I'm getting at is, in the eyes of the viewers, in the eyes of the fans, it wasn't a good look. I think it hurt him more than helped him by far, because the viewers were feeling bad for Robert Whittaker, and then come in with the belt that he did not earn, especially watching the fight when Israel and Anderson Silva were kind of, the guys that kind of stole the show as far as the spectacle. And then they were fighting, and Kelvin was off in the distance with the belt. It hurt him a little bit. Israel called him out after the fight, kind of said, please, man, put that down. Conor McGregor got on Twitter, called him out. Kelvin was quick to bark back, though. He didn't back down from Conor. But, it's not a good look. He had already had some staph on his face. He was kind of getting teased because of that. I thought he handled himself very well, looked like a sharp-dressed man the entire fight week. Didn't really let it bother him that he had staph on him, because that can really get to you, especially having that on your face. It can kind of mess with your confidence a bit. But he didn't let it get to him. I think putting the belt on, though, it messed up things. I don't think it messed up things with him with the UFC. I think the UFC still is going to give him what he rightfully deserves, and that is the title shot whenever Robert Whittaker is able to do it. But he needs to find a way to make it up to the fans to get them back on his side, because they were there. They were on his side thinking, man, this guy just worked his butt off, and now he does not get to fight. He does not get the payday. It's a tough thing when that happens. So hopefully he can make the right decision moving forward. He can come up with something that gets the fans going his way. For the rest of you guys, I wouldn't do the belt move. I think it was a bad idea.